joy. And there's such a stark contrast and a terrible irony with the feast we celebrate today and what's going on in our own country here today too. Because it can be argued that there's no more dangerous place in the world today than the womb of a mother, on account of the awful horror of the destruction of innocent unborn life with such disdain and with such carelessness in so many ways, chemically and surgically, the taking of unborn life in the womb. And it's deeply, it's a deep wound in society. What hope for the future is there when it is that we can treat life in the womb with such, again, disregard? And here in our own country, the review, the 5-year review of the legalization of abortion, again, is a terrible travesty, because there's no mention of the mothers affected. In the last 5 years, we've seen a figure, something around 30,000 abortions have taken place since we voted that in as a people. Not everybody, of course, the strong minority who didn't vote for it, but we're seeing the fallout of this terrible legalization of the destruction of innocent life, and this affects each one of us so closely. We're such a small country. 30,000 means that there's somebody living near you or next door to you, or somebody you know who's been deeply hurt and wounded by abortion and the great loss of life. These children now, if they were, 2018 was that the year we voted, 5 years on, so many should be starting in schools, should be running around in our playgrounds. And where are they? So there's a deep wound and a very grievous hurt taking place in our country and among our people and among so many mothers bereft of their children. So the woundedness and the great awfulness of that. I've told the story before. I think it's providential in its own way. Aidan and myself were travelling here from the studio down to Cork to vote during that referendum, to vote against the destruction of life. And there was a crash on the road in front of us, just down the Naas dual carriageway here from us in the studio. And a lady who was a bit dazed and standing in the middle of the road with 3 lanes of traffic flying past her, and on her phone trying to call for help. And it was obvious from her car, I think she might have had stickers on a t-shirt with "Vote Yes." You know, she was clearly going to vote in favour of abortion that day. And my split-second decision was, well, Aidan, do we stop her? Should we help her or not? And we did. We stopped, and some other people got out, because she was a danger to everybody on the road, and she herself obviously in shock. So we helped to push the car across the road, and then there wasn't any words exchanged. But it just struck me afterwards that this is now our role today, that we've wrecked the car, we've wrecked our society by voting in this great evil. But our task is to come to the help of those victims of this wreckage, if you like, somehow, with prayer, with charity, and with comfort and consolation for the people mourning now the loss of unborn children. So this feast day is a very striking moment, which should impact on us of the great need and the great joy and the great gift of life in the womb, and mothers and their unborn children, and that we play valiantly now our part to support, not to condemn, to be there to assist, to provide for those hurt and wounded, and to support all mothers with child as well. So quite a major task on our hands, but by the power of God's grace. And these things have a way of turning around on themselves, because a kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. And so if it is that we are going to destroy, and this is apparently in this review with the government, that there's simply no consideration for the women who've been hurt, no provision to provide an alternative for women by way of preserving and keeping the life, rather looking to an extension of even more grounds on which it's simply, that cannot last. That's a self-destruct button right there. How can that last? So we have to, like St. Joseph, like Zechariah for the men, stand by mothers with children, and certainly protect, provide and care for them, so that we can rejoice and to sing God's praises and to praise and give blessings for every child that is born, and to thank God for the great gift of life that we have received, and to share that in love with others, as Our Lady to St. Elizabeth this day.